Hello, this is Katie Knight coming to you from my library because I want to talk to you about one of my favorite books of all time for Picture Day. It's called The Magic Poof by Stephen Hodges, and I want to read a couple of pages to you because I know that you are going to think that this book is perfect too. The Magic Poof. Ange Marie always felt different. There was her name, of course, pronounced Ange Marie. And then, of course, there was the poof. I'm going to show you. I want you to look a little closer. It kind of looks like one of those little sandwiches that the kids have in their lunch boxes, the Uncrustables. You know, the ones that you take out of the freezer? And usually one of my students will say every year, "Oh, he looks like my sandwich." The poof sprang up as a great big ball of curly hair that sat on top of Ange Marie's head. When she walked, it bounced. When she skipped, it bounded. And when she danced, it boogied. Even after a haircut, the poof would still be there. Right at this point in the book, I pause and I go, "You guys, what do you notice about the poof in each part of this illustration?" And hopefully one of my students will talk about how the poof keeps changing. And then this is a great spot for prediction. I tell the kids, okay, what do you think the poof will look like next? Turn to your shoulder partner, or on the carpet, I have some rows spin and speak to the kids right behind them. And spin and speak and tell them, what do you think that the poof will look like next? This gets the kids thinking about the story. It gets the kids building mental images. It gets the kids responding to questions. And remember, this is the beginning of first grade. I would say you could read this book to kindergartners, first graders, or second graders, but for me, it's the beginning of first grade. And I have to teach them how to begin to articulate their ideas and then get them on paper. And don't worry, I have a freebie for you that goes with this book. You're gonna love it. Even after a haircut, the poof would still be there. The poof was alive, of course, and had a wild personality. "What you eating down there?" the poof would ask Ange Marie over breakfast. "What is that thing?" he quizzed, pointing to different objects around the room. "Look, I'm a balloon." I'm not going to read you the whole story because your time is very valuable, but all of a sudden, one day, the poof is wondering what's going to happen, and Ange Marie says it's picture day. Now, of course, the poof is thrilled about picture day. He can't decide what he wants to be. He loves picture day. Does he want to be fluffy or not fluffy? Fluffy or not fluffy? Well, this is the point where I stop and ask the kids, what if you woke up with hair that had a personality of its own? What if you woke up on picture day with wild hair? What would your hair look like? And again, I tell the kids, talk to your friend, talk to your shoulder partner, spin and speak, talk to your table group. What might your hair look like if you woke up with wild hair? So I give them a minute to talk to each other. And while they're talking to each other, I display two darling samples, one that's very girl and one that's very boy. And let me show you how I do this. So I've displayed this and they're like, "Oh my gosh, we're gonna do art," and they're very excited. So here's what it looks like when it comes out of the printer. I print things out of the printer on yellow paper because I secretly have a horrible fear that I'm gonna give my master to a child and they're gonna draw on it, which is not that big of a deal if you're downloading something from my blog, because you can just download it again, or downloading something from TPT. But sometimes we've had a master that you can't download again. Maybe it's 20 years old, maybe you got it from a teaching partner. And so I've started running things on yellow. I've even gone so far as to take entire files and copy them onto yellow paper, just so that I know, hey, this is all my Halloween stuff, collected from TPT, collected from friends' blogs, freebies, such, and then maybe some things that I've had for a long time that I just can't get anymore if I were to give the master away. So I would never hand a yellow piece of paper to a child. So that's my little tip for you. Start running your copies on yellow paper. When you photocopy it, the yellow doesn't show up. So this is what it looks like when it comes out of my printer. And what you do is you give your kiddos a brown square. This is 1/8 of a piece of normal size construction paper. So I give them a square and I tell them, I want you to draw in pencil a very large picture of what your wild hair might look like, but make it something real, like a truck or a cat or a big bird. And I show the kids this page in the book. As they walk to school, he promises that he won't turn into anything. But as they walk to school, it says, however, the Poof had a very short attention span, kind of like some of our first graders. And so he turns himself into a bird, he turns himself into a cloud, he turns himself into a giant flower. After showing them this picture, I tell them, you draw what you want your wild hair to look like. And I tell them to draw it up in a pencil, and then they show it to me. And if they've drawn like a teeny tiny flower, I tell them flip it over to the back and make that a big flower, because remember, we want it to fill up your picture, so try to fill up the space. And then once they've drawn, something that fills up the space, I have them trace it in marker and then tell them to cut outside the lines. The reason why you want them to cut outside the lines is because that way you can see all the details of their picture. When they cut on the lines, sometimes they cut the lines off and then you're left with this blob and you don't really know what it is. Sometimes the child's drawing, you don't really know what it is. But that's why it's nice to have them label the picture. And once they've labeled their picture, they can do their writing. Now remember, have them articulate first, because they can write it if they can articulate it. Having them label is helpful because a lot of times they're willing to write a word and then they're willing to take those few words and turn them into a sentence. So on the bottom, this one says, oh no, it's picture day. I woke up with crazy hair. My hair looks like a big truck with tires and a window. For my little girl sample here. Oh no, it is picture day. I woke up with crazy hair. My hair looks like a bunch of big brown flowers. Now, of course, if you have a blonde child, you're going to give them yellow paper. If you have a child with black hair, you're going to give them black paper. And if you have a child with red hair, I'm going to encourage you to give them yellow paper and then teach them how to lightly color over the yellow, because it gives that look of red without being like a Christmas red. No one has Christmas red hair. My husband's a redhead. I promise, he doesn't have Christmas red hair. Construction paper doesn't quite match a redhead in the right way. And so the yellow paper drawn over with red crayon gives a more natural look. Now, if you just can't handle scissors and glue because you're just having a moment, it's also okay to have them draw it. So I drew this one as though the child had blonde hair, and oh no, their hair looks like a book. Now I want to point out that I'm also going to teach the kids to draw from their ear up to their picture, because nobody's hair really starts at the top of their head. You have all of this hair on your forehead down to your ears. So teach the kids to draw that. It's very important in their pictures anyway. I always teach my kids to draw ears and then draw something from their ear up to the top of their hair, and it really improves the look of the drawing. So I teach my boys to just draw little lines up to their spiky hair or their handsome hair or whatever hair they normally have. And then my girls, I teach them how to draw this hair that looks kind of almost like an upside down bird, because usually girls have kind of a little, like my hair, a little swoop to the side. So you can download this darling freebie from my blog, teachertothecore.com. And what you're going to do when you get there is in the search bar, you're going to type the Magic Poof. Now, if you go, within 24 hours of me posting this video, it's going to be my first blog post. But as time goes on, other blog posts are going to appear on my homepage. So just go to the search bar and type in the Magic Poof, and the blog post for the Perfect Picture Day book will come up. A link will be provided for this book on Amazon, and a link will be provided for this freebie to Teachers Pay Teachers. So I hope you love this book. It really is so darling, and the illustrations just can't be beat, and I think that they help captivate the imaginations of our youngest learners. Our kids are very silly. They're kind of wild. They feel sad sometimes. They feel shut down. They're asked to do things like behave, even when they don't want to behave. So I think that this book is just darling, and I love how the story ends. These two come to kind of a beautiful compromise. Right before they go into the picture, the Poof goes, "Can't I just be a little bit like myself? Just a little bit. No wild, crazy birds or clouds or trucks. Just a little bit like myself." And she thinks about it and she agrees. And so the story ends with a photograph that she's brought home from school that says they both agreed, "It was truly wonderful to be attached to your best friend." And on the page right before this, she says that she really thought it was the best picture they had ever taken together. So what a beautiful little compromise. What a sweet little story. And of course, what a darling little art project to help our kids at the beginning of the year. Write just a little bit, not a 5-paragraph essay or anything. Do a little labeling, cut out a quick and easy little picture, and to be able to post this on the wall or take this home is just absolutely darling. I hope you enjoyed this. I can't wait to talk with you again. See you later. Katie Knight, Teacher to the Core.